The British Navy could not stop her. The Portuguese Navy could not stop her. The Chinese Imperial Navy tried 3 times and failed all 3. At her peak, she commanded over 1,800 ships and nearly 80,000 sailors. She was the most powerful pirate in all of human history. And she started life as a sex worker on a floating brothel in the South China Sea. The beginning. Her birth name is lost to history. The name the world remembers, Qing Shi, simply means widow of Zheng. She was defined by a man's death before she was defined by anything of her own. She was born around 1775 in Guangdong, China. Details of her early life are sparse, as they always are for women of her class and time. What is known is this. By her 20s, she was working on a floating brothel called a flower boat in the port of Canton. These were not glamorous places. They were vessels of poverty, controlled by men, populated by women with no other options. In 1801, a powerful pirate commander named Zheng Yi came aboard. He wanted to marry her. She agreed, but only on her terms. She negotiated. She demanded an equal share of his fleet, his wealth, and his power. He accepted. From a flower boat to a flagship in a single conversation. The fleet. Zheng Yi was already one of the most feared pirates in China. Together, he and Qing Shi built something unprecedented. They organized the pirates of the South China Sea into a confederation, a structured, disciplined force with rules, ranks, and consequences. It was less a criminal gang and more a functioning government of the sea. They flew red flags. The Red Flag Fleet became the most feared armada in the region. Then, in 1807, Zheng Yi died at sea in a storm. Suddenly. Most women in her position would have lost everything. Qing Shi moved immediately. Within days of his death, she had secured the loyalty of his commanders, consolidated control of the fleet, and appointed her own second-in-command, a former fisherman turned pirate named Chang Pao, who had been Zheng Yi's adopted son. She did not mourn publicly. She worked. The Code. What made Qing Shi different from every other pirate of her era was not just her power, it was her discipline. She created a strict code of laws for her fleet. Any sailor who gave orders without authorization would be beheaded. Any sailor who stole from the shared treasury would be beheaded. Any sailor who deserted would have his ears cut off and be paraded before the entire fleet. Female captives were to be treated with respect. Any sailor who attacked a woman without permission faced execution. She had lived as a woman with no power in a world built by men. She knew exactly what cruelty looked like from the receiving end. She refused to replicate it without purpose. The code was brutal in some places, and surprisingly just in others. But it worked. 80,000 people followed it. The Empire. At her height, Qing Shi's fleet controlled the entire South China Sea. She taxed coastal villages. She controlled trade routes. She decided who sailed and who did not. The Chinese imperial government sent warships to destroy her. She sank them. They sent more. She captured them and recruited the sailors into her own fleet. The Portuguese sent warships. She defeated them too. Britain, watching from a distance, decided it was wiser not to try. At one point, the Chinese government offered a full military commander the task of defeating her. He failed so completely that he was forced to release all his own prisoners just to end the confrontation with some dignity. He retired in shame shortly after. The end on her terms. By 1810, the Chinese government had accepted a reality no empire wishes to accept. They could not defeat her. So, They negotiated. Qing Shi walked into peace talks with the full power of someone who had never lost a war. She negotiated amnesty for almost all of her sailors. She negotiated the right to keep a portion of her fleet. She negotiated permission for her sailors to keep their plunder. She retired not as a criminal pardoned by the state. She retired as a woman who had made the state come to her. She later opened a gambling house in Canton. She ran it with the same efficiency she had run her fleet. She died in 1844 at approximately 69 years old, surrounded by family, wealthy, free. Every pirate in history who died in battle or at the end of a rope would have envied her ending. What remains? History tends to forget women like Qing Shi. Not because she was unimportant, but because she doesn't fit the story history prefers to tell. She was not a queen born into power. She was not a general given an army. She was not handed anything. She began with nothing. She negotiated for what she wanted. She built an empire from the sea. She defeated every navy that came for her. And when she was done, she walked away on her own terms, alive, undefeated. The most powerful pirate who ever lived did not die with a sword in her hand. She died in a house she owned, in a city she had once terrorized, surrounded by people who loved her. History calls that a retirement. She would have called it a victory.